Brian, it's really awesome to have you on. It comes down to this. Thank you for joining me today.
Oh, I appreciate it. This is going to be fun, and this is going to be great. It all comes down to this.
Well, it all comes down to this, and today what it's going to come down to is sales.
Yep.
And really from a fractional standpoint, when I first met you, it was through another person. I got connected with you, and in our first conversation, I knew I wanted to have you on the show just because you say things differently from what I hear people typically say. Mm-hmm. You are in the fractional space. Mm-hmm. I would like you to just share with people kind of your experience, why you chose to go fractional and how that journey has looked for you. Yeah.
Wake up every day or I'm with clients and I'm like, man, I can't believe I'm getting paid for this. Like, this is great. Like, I think everybody should have that feeling.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I totally agree. It's it's an extremely fast growing industry, if we would. People that are, choosing to jump into the fractional arena. Mm-hmm. It's different than what the old, kind of concept of consulting and stuff was, don't you think?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Totally. Right. Consultants were brought into businesses to help. Fractionals are brought into businesses as part of the business, right? An extension of the business. So, and I think the businesses that are using fractionals may not have used consultants in the past. They've tried to muscle through things themselves to get to a point where they can hire a full-time CFO, COO, HR person. And then now realizing like, whoa, like I can actually get that expertise, a small piece of that expertise, or that expertise for a small piece of time to get the business to where I want to go. And I think that's just creating not a piece of our economy. It's supporting a piece of our economy that's never been much supported before, right?
Yeah.
So I think the small business owners are winning in this whole game, and then the beneficiary of winning is the fractionals because the small business owners need them.
Hi guys, everyone knows content is king, but most brands struggle producing authentic content their ideal customer connects with and responds to. Let me tell you about our show sponsor, Brand Managers. They have solved the authentic content problem. They produce high-value social video and podcasts like this, so your brand is both visible and believable. If you need a consistent content engine across all social platforms and a sales engine that converts, you need Brand Managers. Visit brandmanagers.agency today and make sure your brand gets chosen. I think that when COVID came around, I think it really kind of initiated it. It didn't maybe initiate it, but it really amplified, this practice of fractional. And I think it's because a lot of people discovered that, I don't have to be at an office
Mhm.
24/7. I don't have to live there. I can figure out how to work with organizations and do it from home, or however they choose to do it. But from a fractional standpoint too, I think it's a really smart business practice. I don't know why
Oh,
any business wouldn't be looking at going fractional for a wide variety of leadership positions for sure, but then even more. Um, it just makes sense. You don't have to overly commit to somebody, but you get a much broader level of experience and
uh-huh.
probably a much more qualified person, maybe than you can even hire on your own or for what a business can typically afford. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh my gosh, totally. Right? The wisdom that somebody can bring in as a fractional is just priceless,
Yeah.
because they've got the experience, they've got the background, they've been through the ringer, uh, and you can get it for a fraction of the price.
Yeah.
Excuse the pun, right? But but again, you don't have to uh, go get a less experienced person for almost the same price, or maybe a little bit less, and still struggle, spend the money, but still struggle through the same things. And it's I it's just a matter of time that a majority of small business owners use fractionals. I think it's a matter of time.
I completely agree. Let's dig in though. I want to get into some nitty gritty stuff because you focus on sales.
Correct.
So, what's broken about the traditional sales process and how do you specifically do it differently?
Yeah, well, in the fractional world, I think it's a different sell, right? You're not doing, you're not going to go do demos and just put people through a very very standardized process, right? It's not a transaction, right?
Yeah.
People are buying you, and then buying your expertise. So it's a different interaction with the buyer. And many fractionals are coming from bigger corporate America, where they're on the other end of a sale, a dynamic of a sale. That dynamic is not the same in small business, right? Uh, uh, you're selling directly to the business owner, and you don't, as a fractional, you don't need to try to sell to everybody, right? Like
Yeah.
there's millions of small and medium sized businesses, and when the typical fractional needs 2 to 10 clients at one time, right? 10's probably really high,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So you only need a handful at a time. So if you niche down and focus, and at On Purpose Growth we call it less but better. Focus on less of the marketplace and do it better than anybody else. You're going to consistently win. You're going to get a throughput, of sales. Um, so it's niching down and focusing, right? I'm inferring this, but focus. Also say it this way: in a room of fractionals, it's your job to be able to distinct yourself between the other fractionals in your discipline, whether it's COO, CHRO, CFO, or whatever. You have to actually, you can't just be another fractional CFO. You need to be a fractional CFO that focuses on X or Y
Mhm.
or whatever, right? Because if not, like you were saying, there's this explosion of this industry, if you will.
Yeah.
You're just gonna blend in with everybody else.
Okay. You're like digging into my world. I love this. So, I mean, because I call it the sea of sameness, you
Oh, I
know,
love that. See the sameness. I'm
right?
I'm I'm
Because,
into
I
that.
mean, you look out across the sea, and I actually posted about this on LinkedIn today. You look out across the sea, and what do you see? You see sea. It's just blue.
Yeah.
It's water. It's blue. It's divided by another thing of blue. So
Yep.
it's like nothing. And,
Totally.
when you look at how this industry is growing from people going into fractional,
Mhm.
What you have to understand is that people are actually coming out of the business world
Mhm.
and they're filling positions that typically would be full-time positions, but they're filling them from a fractional standpoint, and it's highly appealing. So there's tons of people that are getting into this industry, and I'm going to call it an industry, the fractional
Yeah.
industry, right? There's tons of people that are jumping into that, but they're also, whether you're a fractional CFO, a fractional sales leader like yourself, fractional CMO, it doesn't matter what fractional you are, there's all kinds of people that are already in that space. Not to
Mhm.
mention all the people who already have jobs full time in that space.
Exactly.
So you've got a lot of competition. So how are you recommending that people overcome that sea of sameness, right?
Mhm.
And go, okay, well, I specialize, because the fear of most people is, how do I niche down? And if I niche down too much, is there a space for me? Is it too niche? Right? So talk to maybe the person that's listening to this, considering being a fractional, or that they're just new into it. And maybe they've run through that little black book of relationships that they have. What now?
Mhm. Yeah, I think maybe in your world you may call it branding. I call it positioning, right? Tomato, tomato, right? Uh, I don't. I have yet to see somebody niche down way too narrow, right? Is it possible? Yes. And I say that because the opposite is a problem, is that people are way too general.
Hmm.
It's all too common to be general, thinking that you're going to be a niche. Here's what I mean by that is, I personally don't think it's good enough, strong enough, clear enough. If you just say, "Hey, I'm a fractional CFO in the manufacturing space," I think the ocean's too big,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
There's too many others saying that. Um, you have to pick what I would say is a niche or a problem. Well, I said that wrong. A niche and or a problem as a niche. So, for instance, uh, uh, what's a good example? For me, right? Uh, the One of the problems I solve in my coaching business is I work with people who are experts at what they do but hate to sell. Right? That's like people relate to that. Oh yeah, true, 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 true. Well, well, somebody that describes themselves as I'm not a salesperson.
Yes. Yes.
Right, they use that language, right? Because they're salespeople that don't like to sell, right?
Yes.
If you're a salesperson, y if you think "Hey, I'm actually a good salesperson, I just need help selling," what I say to you isn't gonna resonate, and that actually is okay with me, right? My positioning in an extreme version should be polarizing, right? Where I should detract people and attract people
That's good.
attract the right people at the same time, right?
Yeah, that's good.
But when I say problem, um, like for instance, I'm going to tell a common story. I got to come up with more, but I got a client who's a fractional COO um, in the manufacturing space. But after talking to him, I realized really what he loves to do and he's good at, and he can do with his eyes closed, is heavy supply chain manufacturers who have multi locations, PE backed, who are either contracting locations or um, or adding locations, because he's really good at whipping up and whipping down um, warehouses and manufacturing floors. And once he went all in on that, his business started going through the roof because people that he was talking to, whether it's a prospect or a referral resource, was going, "Oh, hey, yeah, I got that problem. Oh, I can see that problem. I know where that is. Like,
Hmm.
oh, right. Oh, or we don't have that, but that company over there does, right?" Um, and people could tell the difference between him and some other fractional COO who just says, "Hey, I work with PE backed companies," right? That's probably not. I'd suggest that that's not even good enough, right? Um, because there's a lot of those instances, because there's a lot of transactions in the PE space. There is a lot of expansion and contraction, right? Uh, and that just helped him uh, stick out in the sea of sameness,
Mm-hmm.
and um, it's what he loved doing. So he got energized from it. It's like, oh, this is what I want to do. He realized that now I don't have to accept projects I don't want to do just to
Yeah.
make money.
That's a beautiful place to be.
Totally.
And, when I think that what happens to a lot of people when they just get into the fractional space is there's a pressure, I'm not taking a salary anymore, or I got a certain amount of time where I have a
Yeah.
severance,
Yeah.
and now I got to get on it. So you go directly to the people that you know, as everybody should, right? And you might pick up a client or two. Typically, that's where people's first, clients come from.
Yep.
My book of people relationships, I should say, that I know, right?
Yep.
The problem is that dries out very quickly. And then they're left with, oh, shoot, now what do I do? And
Yep.
I totally agree with you. The solution to that is not, oh, I'm in manufacturing. I work with manufacturing companies that are doing 5 million plus, have X amount of employees. It's what problem do you specifically solve? And if you start talking both directly at the problem to a specific person that you're imagining has that
Yeah,
problem,
exactly. Exactly.
then you're right. Things do change. Then things start to open, but that's a process that does take some time. So
It is.
again, the sales process is broken. I do think you have to speak towards your problems. But if we all of a sudden just discovered, oh, well, this is the problem I solve, and I've got in mind who I'm supposed to speak to, now what? That doesn't mean that people are just showing up because I post a post on LinkedIn, right? What
Yeah.
do you do? Walk me through it.
Yeah. So the way I believe that this works is once you get really clear on what you just described, it should lead you, in my mind, in my world, it's deductive reasoning. Meaning, right, if I get really clear on who it is and the problem I solve, that should also start pointing me in the direction of where to go and who to talk to, and or what requests to make from my current network that is dried up that can help me get to where I want to go. Just because you went to that well doesn't mean that it's dried up. You just have to change your request, right? The request isn't like, hey, hook me up with anybody. It's like, hey, who do you know that is exposed to this problem and does this? Um, Brand yourself around it, and then start doing things like the cold reach outs, like you're helping people with, and things like that. Is your um, expand your reach, because your biggest issue is market awareness.
Yes.
People need to know, what you do and what problem you solve, and how you do it. What I'm saying is you got to be strategic on what places and spaces and people to hang out with. So, like, for instance, let's go back to the supply chain guy. I instructed him to not hang out with anybody that wasn't focused on serving companies that are heavy supply chain, because that's in the world of probability. There's a probability somebody can bring you in there or get you into a space where there's prospects, right? Is it possible for somebody else to refer you who's kind of connected in the PE space, no particular vertical? Yes, but I don't like living in a world of possibility. I like living in a world of probability, right?
Great saying.
Right? Because it's like, I don't know. That's just insane to me, right? Like, I'm more about being effective and efficient versus just active. I'm not doing activity for activity's sake. I would rather not do anything than do an activity that I have no idea why I'm doing it.
Oh, amen.
Right?
I will be stealing that statement from
Totally.
you.
Well, it's kind of like if you don't know why you're doing it and what you're doing it for and why it should be or how it should be effective, you just shouldn't do it. Right?
It is so true. And with what we do and working with clients, I have almost all of my clients come to me already posting on LinkedIn.
Really?
And I say, have you ever received anything from it? Not one of them has ever said yes.
Right.
And, it's because you're posting the same thing that everybody else is posting in a sea of sameness. It's,
Sameness.
you don't separate yourself in any way, shape, or form, so nobody cares. It's website content. You know how people used to say that you couldn't be in business if you didn't have a website?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
In the B2B space, nobody cares about websites.
No.
The only good thing a website's for anymore these days is if you actually sell a product and you have a shopping cart and you're sending somebody there to buy it. Do you agree with that?
I have had clients make multiple six figures without a website.
Yes. Okay, I'm going to make another statement to you. You tell me if I'm crazy or if you agree. In the B2B space, this is for all fractionals to hear.
Yeah.
Cold outreach is dead.
No, if you're doing it the right way.
Good. Tell me how.
I would say going back to the first thing, easy, low-hanging fruit, do it the opposite of everybody else. Right? Like rule number 1, don't do what everybody else is doing. Just like you said about the posting, right? See a sameness. Number 2, this is relational, not transactional. So if you're out there doing transactional behavior, a few things are going to happen. 1, it's going to be hard to get business. 2, when you do get business, it's going to be a transaction, and you are what's the word I'm looking for? They can get you're disposable.
Yeah, you're a commodity. Yeah,
you're a commodity. So in going back to COVID, this happened in COVID. So I've got a client who's a fractional CFO. We were working together prior to COVID and things were great. And then he just had me on kind of retainer mode just to ask me questions every so often. And he reached out to me in, it's March, February, let's call it April of 2020. Then he sends me an article, because he's there in Chicago, send me an article of a Chicago Tribune about a fractional CFO business that him and I both know who it was. And the article said, at the end of February, this company, they had about 4 or 5 fractional CFOs under this guy. They had about $89,000 of monthly recurring revenue. And in April, he's closing his doors because he only has like 6 or 7. And the reason why the CFO sent me this, it was like, hey, Brian, I don't get this. My business is going in the other direction. Going in the other direction to the point that in June of 2020, April, May, June, 2 months later, he had $72,000 in monthly recurring revenue with 1.5 other fractionals. And he's like, why is this happening? Why am I going like this and they're going like this? And I said, it's because we both know that organization, and you are an extension of your business owners. You're a part of that business. Like, you're not a line item, right? You're a key player in the business. And for them, there are a bunch of transactions, right?
Yeah.
They were the first on the chopping block, right?
Yep.
And that's how you have to produce business, is like from the beginning, whether it's a referral or a cold reach out, you need to think like, this is a relationship. I need to figure out how to serve this person. How can I add value, rather than just saying, hey, you want to buy my stuff?
That's exactly right.
And it necessarily doesn't happen with the first reach out, meaning like it may not, you need to get in conversation with people. How do I say this correctly? Because I'm referring something. You need to get into healthy valuable quality conversations with people, rather than like, hey, let's talk to buy my stuff. Because some people are like, have a 30-minute conversation and then send a proposal. I'm like, that's insane to me.
That is
That's
insane.
insane, right? Like that's a transaction. Like you need to have a process where you're getting to know people, they're getting to know you. And you have to think about that. Like, how do I, at the front end, the top of my funnel, when I'm doing cold reach outs, how am I doing this to add value? And on top of this too, hopefully I'm not talking all over the place, is in my opinion, my content and my profile on LinkedIn for cold reach outs all talk about, kind of give people an idea of who I am and how I think.
Mm-hmm.
Not as much about like, I'm going to say my pedigree or my resume, right?
Sure.
Like,
Yep.
right? Like, I mean, does the resume matter? Yes, but it's not the
Mm-hmm.
first. It's not the first thing, right? I think there's an assumption / expectation that if you're a fractional, you already know your stuff, right? Like you
Yep.
already are the expert, right? So if you lead with it, you're leading with something that somebody already knows and is
Right.
ultimately irrelevant at this point.
That's exactly right. I totally agree with that. In fact, I tell everybody the number one thing that you need to accomplish with your social media content is likability.
Oh, 100%.
Because if people see your content and they're like, ugh, this guy again,
Yep.
nobody is going to want to have a further conversation with you.
They shut you off.
Yeah.
And they scroll right by. You're
Totally.
just a connection. I mean, I've got people in my feed on all social media platforms. There's some people I have follow where I'm just waiting to watch the train wreck. Right? It's entertaining. Right? Like that's the only reason why you're here, right? Like I'm not saying anything. That's the car crash that I drive by and I stare at, right?
No doubt about it.
Right?
And you can almost see it a mile away.
Oh
But
gosh.
so, okay, you're right. It takes relational value driven outreach. Yeah. Okay, so it can be cold as long as it's relational and it's value driven.
Yeah, I do cold. So yeah,
okay.
It works to the point where I do it.
Okay, now where does that outreach take place? Is it a series of things? Is it just one space like LinkedIn? Are you calling people? Are you emailing? You getting their email and emailing them? What do you recommend?
I'm not a big cold caller. I'm not saying that doesn't work. I'm just saying I'm not a big cold caller, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm built for relationships, right? So like that's just kind of how I'm wired. So mine is
I want to cut you off for just a second because this is what you just said is super important. You said I'm built for relationships. Mm-hmm. I say if you're in the fractional space, if you're not built for relationships, you better get out of the space.
Leave.
Because you will not be successful.
No.
If your entire career has been about transactional sales, go back to it. Because
go back to it. Yep.
You will not do well in the space. So sorry, no. That was such an important point that you just said.
You will piss people off and you will scare them away, right? It's the corporate America in this world are two different worlds, right? They're just different. Not one's bad or better, worse or better or good. It's just different, and you have to realize that. You ultimately, and I'll go back to your question. You have to ultimately, if you were indoctrinated in a corporate America, you have to unlearn a bunch of stuff.
Totally.
Right. One of them being the employee mindset. You need to lose that or go back to corporate America because nobody owes you anything in this world of space. And I don't care what your title was.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Even if it was chairman of the board or CEO, nobody owes you anything. You can throw that out the door.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So back to your question around email, cold calling, and LinkedIn. I use LinkedIn to start building a relationship with people, and then I try to take them off of LinkedIn and get their email. And then I offer them the newsletter or email them some stuff where I want to have multi touch points versus just one sole one, right?
Yes.
Because I don't know which one you're going to respond to. And two, I love LinkedIn, and it happens to me where sometimes people's responses get buried with all the messages
All
that
the
I
time.
got,
All the
right?
time.
So like, yes, there's 100% deliverability, but, and I'm going to make a word up, there's not 100% viewability,
Totally truth. And
right?
LinkedIn's message box sucks because because it's timed. If somebody messages you, it pushes the next one down. And the message you get pushes it down. So you can very quickly lose those messages, and people don't realize you can filter it out to unread. But
Yep.
you can lose messages. Or if you happen to look at it but don't have time to respond to it, it's really easy to lose it. So yes.
Real easy.
And people don't really pay that close of attention a lot of times.
Right.
Even people that are on there, at least a number of times a week, those messages can get lost. So you're right. I think it's get them off that platform as fast as you can in a value-driven way, like you've been talking about.
Well, and to realize too that your content isn't seen by all your connections.
No.
Right. So yes, you may be posting consistently, but the people that you want to see it may not be seeing it. I don't say that in a bad way. It's just the reality of it, right?
Well, it's the algorithm. I tell clients this all the time. When they ask, why do I need to post every day? So because your post by the algorithm, when you post, no matter what time of day, it is only going to show it to 3% of your first tier network. 3%. So if you've got 2,000 connections, you get 3% of that.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't tell you what percentage, it doesn't tell you which people it's going to show it to.
Right.
You have to get engagement to that post for then it to start to begin to trickle open, and it is a trickle.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not posting every day, 3% of whatever network you've built up, both your connections and then your followers, if you have any, that's a small number.
Small.
So it has to be a cumulative consistency that you post out there, and not assume that everybody's seeing your content all the time and you're annoying them, because the reality is very few people are seeing your content.
Very few. And you're saying this, and I've noticed myself, is the consistency is what builds opportunities through time.
Right.
Like, for instance, I had somebody reach out to me recently, but in the past, call it 2 months, who came to a LinkedIn Live that I did a couple days before and was like, "Hey, Brian, I've been following you for a year. I'm ready to talk."
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, okay, perfect, right? So because I was, messaging people, posting content, doing lives, doing things where I was consistent with exposing myself to people, it created an opportunity. Because all those things are living together, meaning my activity, my posting, my messaging, and my profile. I mean, I even had somebody today, I accepted a connection request from her and I said, "Hey, thanks for the connection." And her response was, No. Thank you. I read your About Me section and it really resonated with me. I can't wait to see more of your content, and perhaps we should talk." Like, okay,
Awesome.
because the About section is just me. I give a story about me and kind of my journey and where I'm at, and it's just to resonate with people like that. Like, that's who I'm looking to resonate with.
It's really awesome. Really awesome. And I agree with you. LinkedIn's an ecosystem. What
Correct.
LinkedIn is not is a shortcut to sales system.
No.
Every single person, you just imagine, how long does it take to make a relationship or to develop a relationship?
Oh, right.
The only shortcut that LinkedIn gives you is actually the ability to get in front of a larger number of people than you would just in your 5-mile circle, right?
Correct.
Very much easier to get connected through that platform. That sales journey from I have a problem awareness to I'm going to choose this as my solution and pay for it doesn't change. Do you agree?
Oh, 100%, right? There's people that I know, well, how do I say this? There's people in prospects in my world where they look like a prospect, but they're not because they're not at the right point of the journey. That's not bad. It's just I'm realizing like, okay, just get them in my world and wait until they're at that point, right?
Yeah.
Because they have to go through a process of problem aware. In my world, people think like, no, I can fix this myself. Perfect. Um, their problem aware is I can't fix this on my own and I need help, right? They may with the first one I said, they may know they have a problem, but they don't know they're not problem aware of the problem I solve, meaning I can't do this for myself,
Mhm.
right? So I'm just pulling people into the world and finding the ones that are ready now and nurturing the ones that could bloom into prospects and clients in the future.
Yeah, I love it. And so that brings me to my next question for you is, excuse me, you said that you have built a 2-call close process.
Oh, yeah.
Typically, what you're looking for is a close within 2 calls. And it can be phone calls, Zoom calls, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Um, you didn't start there,
No.
um, but you're there now.
Oh,
So
totally.
talk to me about the 2-call close, and then what does it take to get there? Like, at what point are you, I guess, to the point where you can go, I'm only going to spend 2 calls?
Just like you said, or you inferred, it was a journey, right? I had to learn what process my prospects had to go through, what they needed to learn and experience in that process, and then also what did I need to learn uh, and go through on my end. What was the buyer's journey and what was the seller's journey, right? Because there were times where I would go through, you know, 4 or 5, maybe 6 calls, as painful as it is to admit that, right? Um, uh, and it just gave me the ability to, one, collapse time, but also two, learn what was valuable to my prospects, and I gave that to them as fast as possible.
Mm.
Uh, and two, I'll say it this way, I also learned, how do I say this properly? Uh, the people that could enter that process that weren't actually going to go through. So qualification. I knew how to qualify
Right.
to when you're in that first step to not even offer the second step because I knew like I'll just keep it at qualified, right? That there's a whole context to that. Um, because I knew there was a higher probability if people were qualified, it looked in a certain way, it'd be worth, spending that time. And I know it was well designed when people would get to my second step. So I've got a first step, I'm going to say an intermediate step, and then a second step where the prospect does something in the middle there. And I knew it was valuable when I was in my second step, my second meeting, and people go, "Hey, Brian, no matter what you just put me through or what you had me do was super valuable to me."
Nice.
And I kept getting that and getting that. I'm like, okay, perfect. I'm not going to change this because everybody, whether they work with me or not, was like, "Hey, that was valuable," right? So now people enjoy spending time with me, right? Whether we do business or not, where they find it valuable, I should say. I don't know, enjoy, sometimes it's painful. Uh,
Sure.
but, uh, but it was a process, it was a refinement process. Um, uh, and I would know what to ask to allow people to get through what they need to get through to get to a decision. And then I would tell them, hey, there's a point in sales, especially in sales process, where sales changes to leadership, where you need to tell them, like, hey, here's what the next step looks like. Here's what we're going to do. And here's what happens after that. If you don't have the ability to tell people that, you need to figure that out.
That is so good. And so, did you have like an aha moment or like a moment of clarity where you're like, this is it. This is what I have to do every time. I've transitioned from sales to leadership.
Um, I don't know if there was an aha moment. Uh, how do I say it? There kind of was, but I just realized like it was just at one point in time the light bulb went off and just says, hey, when we get to this point and a prospect showing up this way, here's what I have to do. Right? It's like, okay, hey, here's what the it was just clarity. Like I got clarity, right? Where it's like, hey, I need to lead them because I was noticing that people were lost and they were saying things like, okay, well, so how does it work from here? And so how does it work from here enough times where I would just jump in front of that and go, okay, here's how this works from here. And people go, oh yeah, cool, perfect, perfect. Right.
Love it.
And you probably heard this before too, like a confused buyer never buys.
Oh, I always say a confused mind always says no.
There you go. Right.
Yeah.
And this goes back to the whole general thing of your positioning and your branding. If you're
Mm-hmm.
too general and you're not getting opportunities, it's most likely because you're confusing people. They're confused or they're not clear, right? Same thing with like your sales process. If you don't know going into that meeting what the next step looks like and how it works, you're going to confuse the hell out of a prospect
Yeah.
and yourself,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And yourself, right? And this is one of the big ingredients to people having prospects meet with them over and over and over again. It's because you can't explain the process and how somebody works through, or in general works through a decision with you. So you just kind of go with their flow, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now they're owning the sales process, not you, right? And that's insane.
Well, that's where I was hoping we would go today, Brian, because you are a fractional sales expert. But in my mind, what you actually do is get people to stop selling and
Oh
get
my gosh.
them to let the potential lead sell themselves because you've become the leader and you're the guide. You're not the salesperson. I don't have to convince you. Uh, I
Yeah.
I have my own little story. I went to a virtual networking deal
Hmm.
today, and I was talking to a guy who's fractional CFO,
Hmm.
and I was just saying, tell me about your journey. How'd you get into this? Why did you get into this? What's your experience? Um, and he said, well, I've been in the corporate world. Same story as always, right?
Yep.
I've been in the corporate world for a long time. I came out of that back during COVID, and I've been through a number of like layoffs, not because of myself, but because of business situations. And I realized that I have experience that people need, and I can solve problems, for people. And I said, how'd you get your business going? He said, well, I've built my business off of two really good relationships. And those two relationships have fed me a number of clients. But he's like, but that's pretty much done. And I don't know what I'm going to do from there. I was like, uh
Yep.
huh. And so I fed the question right back to him. What are you going to do from there?
Yep.
I don't know. And it was, you have to, the aha is you have to get people to understand their problem and own it and
100%.
go, I really have to figure this out. I've got to solve this. By the way,
That's a great
can you help me solve it?
that's a great prospect versus versus you saying, "Hey, those two sources dried up. You're in trouble. You suck because you don't have any other options. You need to hire me."
Yeah.
Like, oh, no, I don't even want to talk to you anymore. I don't want
Yeah.
to talk to you anymore.
Yeah.
Right? What one of the way I was taught this by mentor is you make it their idea.
Yeah.
I think that sounds a little harsh. I think it's more of like, not I'm making it their idea. Um, a motivated buyer tends to buy, right?
Mhm.
So I'm just asking questions to see if they are motivated or not, right? Uh,
Right. How
right?
big's your pain?
Yeah. How big is it, right?
Mhm.
I was sending a voice message to a client earlier today because he got stuck. I didn't realize it. We were talking about some opportunities in the past, and one of the opportunities came up, and he's like, "Hey, so I'm kind of stuck. Like these people keep bringing me back and not making a decision, right? And I don't want to have another meeting and them not make a decision, right?" So I said to him, I said, "Okay, so here you're going to use language like this, like, hey, um, so as you're talking about the problems, it's like, okay, so hey, if you fix this today, what would change for you?" And get
Mhm.
them to go, yeah, well, this and this will change. Okay. So is that something that you want to fix now, or do you want to wait for that? And it's like, if they go, I want to fix it now. Okay, perfect. Here's how this works. If they go,
So
hey,
good.
I'm going to wait for that, they're not going to say yes. So
That's
move
right.
on. They're not, they are, there are, I'm sure you've seen this, and it blows my mind, is that there are people that just are in perpetual stuckness
Oh,
and
yeah.
have no problem staying there,
Analysis
right?
paralysis.
And they complain
Yeah.
about it, but never
Yeah.
do anything about it, and it drives me nuts. It
Yes.
drives me nuts, right?
Yes.
Either stop complaining about it or do something about it, right?
Yes. Yes. It's exactly the truth, and that's so good. You can get to a two-call close when you let them make the decision, and if they're not gonna make the decision, there's no point in wasting your time.
Yeah, and if I think if you've I'm gonna say prime them in the top of the funnel,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? It's easier to do that, right? Um, Another way to say this is I was kind of saying it before is primed equals qualified, right? So if you're not qualified, you're not going to be able to take somebody through a two call process, right? Like
Right.
you're going to be convincing, right?
Right.
So if you're out there, I'll say it this way, I kind of said before, if your message is polarizing or it's making people make a choice or separating you from other people, it's going to attract people who are primed,
Yep.
right?
Mhm.
All that stuff has to be, in my mind, aligned, right? Uh, and what that means is you're focused on a niche or a problem. You're not trying to uh, uh, put a wide cast a wide net out there,
Right.
right? You're speaking to the people that are at the point where they need to make a decision, and you're there when they're ready to make a decision, or tipping over to make that decision.
I have a client, and he runs a marketing company, and
Hmm.
his niche, where he really focuses on his genius, is basically on neurology and how the mind thinks, right? And so when we're talking about messaging and stuff like that, what he'll tell you is if you approach a situation where you are solving a bunch of different problems
Hmm.
and you're not real clear on what you can do for that specific person that you're talking to right in front of you, the neurology says you're not very good.
Ooh.
You're not very good at what you do because nobody masters all of those things,
Hmm.
right? So
Hmm.
you might be decent at some stuff or at a lot of stuff, but I'm looking for what I want is the person that solves this. I want the best at this. And you can take that into just look at the medical industry, what the medical industry has done.
Oh yeah.
You've got your general practitioner people, but you know what they do? They refer.
Yes.
They push pills and they refer you to somebody else.
Exactly. 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 100%. 100%.
It's become highly specialized because, and the reason that we have those specialties is because nobody can know that much about such a complex machine as our bodies, right?
Yeah.
And I think everything is that way. So, you know, from just a thought standpoint, going back to what we were talking about at the very beginning, niche down. Make sure that everybody knows you as the number one expert, and that's thought leadership. You have to do that through all of your content and all your communication.
I had a great mentor that instilled in me, sales is a relevance game, right? You have to be relevant, right? And it doesn't stop from just solving that problem. It's through the whole process. Even after you acquire a client, the sale doesn't stop. You have to stay relevant to them, or they will turn you off, right?
Yeah.
And I've always kind of layered that over when I'm posting on LinkedIn. I'm trying to be relevant to somebody, talking very specific or about a specific problem. When I'm in the sales process with somebody, I'm trying to be relevant to them and where they're at, not trying to, sell them everything. It's like, hey, what's the problem, or what's going on? And let's talk about that. And I've realized, I've had people say to me, Brian, I went with you, not because you're cheaper, you're more expensive, because you get me. And boom, right? Perfect, right? Because I do care, right? And I'm focused on you, right? And making you feel that it's just, you're my number one client and prospect at this point in time, right? And again, that's an ingredient of a relationship.
Totally. Man, this has been an awesome conversation.
That's great, man.
I really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing all of your valuable insights. I know if you've been listening, if you've been listening this long, you've gotten something out of it.
Yeah.
And so if you've been listening, it comes down to this. Sales is not dead. Sales is not hard. Sales is not broken. If it is for you, it's you. You got to do it different. Brian, awesome to have you on the show. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next time.
Yeah, thanks, man. This is awesome. Appreciate you.